Hello and welcome to Safe Ride for Kids. Today we're talking about the tummy shield, which is a seatbelt positioner for pregnant women. And we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of, why is it important? How does it work? How does the existing seatbelt work? And all these things are going to be covered. We'll be keeping an eye on the chat to answer questions, but we will also be hanging out on in our booth here after the fact to make sure any questions get answered. The reality is that driving is the most dangerous thing that we do every day. Whether we have children or not, getting in the car and driving somewhere is just dangerous. It's, the statistics on how many children's lives are lost every single year. Let's say 12 and under is about 300. It varies from year to year, but 300, 400, 500 children a year are lost in car crashes. It depends which age brackets you include. And contrast that with other ways that children die, and it really puts things into perspective. But we all have places to go and things to do, and we are going to be driving with our children. At Safe Ride for Kids, we are really passionate that the tummy shield addresses the pregnancy stage of driving with children. And you might ask, how do we get into all this stuff? Well, my name is Greg DeRocher, and I became a firefighter volunteer back in the early or mid 90s and was hired career in 1998. And in 2000, as part of my job on the fire department, I became a certified child passenger safety technician. Since 2001, I've actually been an instructor of that program, meaning I'm on the instructor team here in Colorado, where we certify the technicians who then go out into the field and educate the parents. So I've been doing that for 19 years and been doing car seat safety for 20 years. And I really got started in this because it became very apparent to me as a firefighter paramedic responding to car crashes that if I really wanted to make a difference in the outcome, it would be best to focus on injury prevention. Because by the time we're showing up on scene in an ambulance, the injuries have already happened. It's too late to prevent anything. So that's what I love about the tummy shield. That's why I'm so happy that Amy, my wife and business partner, joined me in this passion for child passenger safety. Very shortly after we met, she became a certified technician as well, and we've been doing injury prevention, car seat safety education ever since. So let's talk first about how the seatbelt is actually intended to work in the car. The reality is that the seatbelt that is in the car, there's nothing in the federal safety standards that addresses its safety for pregnant women. And basically all of the education that's out there, outside of what we're doing, is telling you the best way to use the system that's in the car, that's available, that's been in the car for 60, 70, 75 years. It is not saying that system is the optimum protection for pregnant women. And let's take a look at the anatomy of it. We're going to use our helper here, Mrs. Bones, and I'm just going to put on the seatbelt like the normal adult would do. And we're going to take a look at how does that seatbelt engage with the adult anatomy, the adult skeletal structure. Amy's going to grab the camera and bring it over for a close-up. So here's the issue, and here's the part of the seatbelt that we're most concerned with, which is the lap portion. So these two parts of our hip bones, called the iliac crest, these are what the lap portion of the seatbelt is intended to engage in a crash. Now, in a crash, the occupant's body is going to push forward into the seatbelt. The seatbelt is going to tend to make a straight line between the left and the right hip bone. So what's going to happen is any soft tissue where this seatbelt is being held in front of the hip bones is going to be compressed in a crash, and you can see that very simply there. The problem is that that leaves very little space, typically about 2.5 inches between the seatbelt and the interior aspects of the mother's spinal column. And this is a typical anatomy size. That measurement comes from a guy by the name of Jim Hofferberth, who was the director of the Office of Crashworthiness at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in the 80s. And he's a big advocate for seatbelt safety for pregnant women, because his understanding of the government and the crash dynamics, he realizes that pregnant women are completely underserved by the current standards, the current way things are done. So that's the anatomy of how the seatbelt is going to work and how it's going to interact with you and your pregnancy. And if you're anything like Amy, the best practice is to get the seatbelt under the belly, right? Well, for her, there was no under the belly. There was no space. Her pregnant belly was lying on the tops of her thighs. And so before we started selling this product, the next thing that we decided that we had to look into is, as a paramedic, when I saw the tummy shield, when I met the inventor, it was obvious. Yes, this is a no-brainer. We have to do something about this issue. And the pregnant woman is a very high-risk patient in a car crash. But I didn't know statistically the probabilities of this. So before we started selling it as a product, we jumped in to try to find every study, all the research that we could find. What we uncovered is that there are at least 25 different studies and papers out there that talk about pregnancy, seatbelt, car crashes. The general conclusion from many of those studies is, yes, this is a problem. Somebody should do something about it. But to date, the tummy shield is the only product we believe that has actually gone and done something about it in an effective way. But we learned some very interesting statistics. One, about 170,000 pregnant women are involved in car crashes every year in the United States. There's about 5 million reported car crashes and an additional 5 million that go unreported. They're fender benders. On that note, the gentleman who invented the tummy shield has a daughter who received a traumatic brain injury during the pregnancy from him having to slam on the brakes to avoid a crash. It was not even a crash. And she received traumatic brain injury from the lap portion of the seatbelt. That's why he invented the tummy shield. So it doesn't even need to be a severe crash. The other thing that we learned is that the studies, the estimates range from several hundred lost pregnancies, pregnancies that end in miscarriage every year, to over 7,000 pregnancies end in miscarriage every year. At Safe Ride for Kids, we've kind of adopted the 3,000 number as a median between those two. The reality is, nobody knows. Nobody knows how many pregnancies are lost every year from car crashes because there's no mechanism to measure it. There's no paperwork. There's no paper trail. There's nothing in the medical industry, in the medical records industry, that documents the cause of a miscarriage. So that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother mission that we would like to accomplish. But what we really want to do is get you and your baby as safe as possible. So another study, another interesting statistic that we found is that during pregnancy, during the 9 months of pregnancy, the baby is at 5 times the risk of being fatally injured in a car crash. Now, that compared to the 9 months after they're born and they're riding in a certified child car seat. The sad part about that number, that 5 times number, is that study only looked at medical cases where both the mother and the baby were fatally injured in the car crash. It does not include any cases where the mother survives, but the pregnancy is lost. The pregnancy ends in its stillbirth or a miscarriage. So what's the real number? We don't know. We're guessing it's at least 10 times, maybe more likely for the baby to be fatally injured in a car crash during pregnancy as opposed to after they're born. So these are some pretty scary statistics. That's why we do what we do. That's why we're passionate about what we do. So I'm going to swap out Mrs. Bones for our other mannequin, and we're going to talk about the tummy shield and how it works. So before I put the other mannequin on, this is the tummy shield. This is what is going to come in the box. It's about 1.5 inches thick. It's a cushion, a soft cushion. This is an extension panel that comes with it. Our mannequin doesn't need it, so I'm going to take that off. And then the way that the tummy shield installs is this strap here goes around the vehicle seat back. We're going to pretend that here because I can't get back there. So this is what it's going to look like when the tummy shield is installed in your car. What's going on with the tummy shield is inside the front part here, there's about 8 pounds of stainless steel plate that this buckle strap is attached to. That steel plate is molded into the foam and then covered with the fabric. So I'll come up here close for you. So it's stainless steel plate, one-piece construction. So the anchor point and the plate are one piece. That's molded into the foam, covered in fabric. So the way that it's going to work for you is, let me grab that other mannequin real quick. You will be sitting on the tummy shield. That metal anchor point is between your legs facing the front of the car. What you're going to do is you're just going to put on your seatbelt. We're still using the vehicle seatbelt. Oh, looks like we broke our arm here. You're still going to be using the vehicle seatbelt system. There we go. So we're not replacing that. You still have all the safety benefits of using the vehicle seatbelt. We're just creating an anchor point between the legs so that the lap portion of the seatbelt won't impact your baby. So you can see here, this is pretty typical. The seatbelt is being held in front of the hip bones by the pregnancy. To use the tummy shield, you're just going to introduce some slack here, reach down between the legs and slip the tummy shield or slip the seatbelt into that anchor point on the tummy shield, and then just pull the slack out of it and let the retractor set the tension on your body. So that's it. It is that simple to use. Now, A, the seatbelt isn't pressing on your belly. B, in a crash, the occupant is going to be restrained by the legs, by the femurs, the strongest bones in the body, as opposed to that seatbelt restraining energy coming into the upper hip bones, potentially impacting the baby. A quick note, how much energy are we talking about? So when we're teaching parents the car seat information, we use a very simplified formula of speed times weight. The speed of the car crash, or the speed that the vehicle was moving at the point of the car crash, times the weight of the occupant. So in the realm of car seats, we're talking a 30-pound child and a 10-mile-an-hour crash, keep the math simple, is 300 pounds of restraining force, okay? Increase the speed to just 20 miles an hour. 30 pounds times 20 mile, the amount of energy required doubles, 600 pounds of restraining force. So now do a little bit of math for yourself. what is your weight times the speed of the crash. So let's say a 100-pound occupant in a 10-mile-an-hour crash. That's 1,000 pounds of restraining force that's going to load this seatbelt and load the tummy shield. Increase the speed of the crash to 20 miles an hour. And I don't know about you, but I can hit 20 miles an hour by accident in a parking lot, you know, a big open, big box store parking lot, pretty easy. 20 miles an hour times a 100-pound occupant, 2,000 pounds of restraining force. So the numbers, the amount of energy gets very big very quickly. That's what we love about the tummy shield. The tummy shield is engineered, manufactured, and crash tested in a certified crash test lab using industry protocols for crash testing to ensure that you, the adult occupant, remain appropriately restrained when you're using the seatbelt system, and that the tummy shield doesn't compromise the function of the seatbelt. You're still appropriately restrained. We bring that up because there are some competing products on the market, and you know, here's a couple examples of those. They're made of plastic, they're made of webbing, they move the anchor point way forward up here to the edge of the seat, which means that the occupant is going to fly forward until they run into the seatbelt. Made of plastic, it's probably going to break in a crash under those kinds of forces. This one's made of webbing and straps and stuff that just really isn't going to do anything in a crash. So the tummy shield is the best out there. One of our missions as a company is to get the legislation changed so that there are crash testing protocols for this. Right now, the onus is on you, the consumer, to do your homework and pick a product that's going to provide the safety that it claims it's going to provide. Even if you're not using the tummy shield, some tips that you should be doing. You should be a passenger whenever possible. Because even though the seatbelt is the first outside force that can impact the pregnancy, the steering wheel is the second. So that steering wheel can have an impact on you and your baby during a crash, because during a crash you will move forward. The other thing is, if you are driving and your steering wheel is adjustable, try to adjust it up towards facing your face as much as possible, so that when that airbag does come out, it's pointed at your face, and that airbag, which is coming out at 200 to 400 miles an hour, isn't impacting the baby. Push the seat backs as far as they go, whether you're the passenger or the driver. Push those seats back away from those airbags and the steering wheel as far as you can. And then obviously reduce distractions. You know, distracted driving is one of the most common causes of crashes these days. So reduce the distractions, make sure you're well rested, alert, all of those things that you can do to just be a good defensive driver. We do have a promotion code to share with you. It's on the chat on the website, or in our booth here, but it's also Prego 2020. So PREGO 2020, and you can use that at saferideforkids.com. We're going to link to all the studies and the blogs in the chat. We'll have them posted up here on the page. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us about the tummy shield or the other cool products that we sell. One of them that we are very proud of. How are we doing on time?
Yeah, 1 minute.
All right, 1 minute. The Ride Safer Travel Vest. The Ride Safer Travel Vest is a certified child restraint system that fits in a little tiny bag. It is certified for children 3 years old and up. It is a vest that is the child's car seat. We love this product. It saved us from having to buy a new car when we had our third child, and we loved using it on vacation. Our kids are all bigger than it now, but this product is certified for 3 years old and up. There are 3 sizes: small, large, and extra large. So we have Ride Safer Vest for all different size kids. Visit saferideforkids.com and check those out. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.